think it really helped people experience, maybe like you're saying, this Jesus, but and there was an emphasis, but I think, yeah, there's the seeds of the Notzri Jesus are there, absolutely. I would never see it any other way, because so many people went on from that. I know people who were through that and then they went to the Reformed, and now this one guy I know,
Yeah,
he used
that
to
happens a lot.
he went to Westminster West there, and then he went, and eventually now he's a Roman Catholic. So I see them as a starting point for so many, as they have been through the years. They're not, it's not like one of these movements that you eventually ended up in, but it is indicative of the Jesus Natsuri Jesus relationship, um, wrong foot, without getting a good grounding. It sets that into motion, maybe this experiential Christianity, which is, it's kind of Jesus Yeshu Natsuri light. It's not um how you say, blatant. I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
think
that
you're right.
they dichotomize religion and relationship, and in a wrong way. And you hear that so many from people all the time. I mean, you want to have a relationship with Christ, but it's got to be based on Acts chapter 15. It's got to be based on the sayings of Jesus, and as we've just extrapolated today, in judicial sense, the New Testament,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, and that's the striving. I mean, it takes a long time for people to learn these things. Um, you have to have a good. That's why I look at John MacArthur there in Southern California. Well, he gets a lot of criticism from the people in my denomination, but still, I know he stood his ground. He kept his church open during the COVID, and so you're always going to do something that is not going to please everybody, but you got to take a certain leadership, and a take it or leave it type of leader like that. If you want to follow him, you follow him. Obviously, um, there are many cult leaders that we can easily identify as these narcissists that feed off
Yeah,
of others.
Mm.
yeah,
But then there's a lot of leaders that make waves. Others don't like them. That people don't want to submit, and I look at them as, maybe, well, they're not really saying something wrong. I mean, but definitely I have the freedom, and that's the privilege we've
And
had.
that's the
In that,
difference, yes,
yeah,
because of
where I have the
the
freedom to
lack.
take it or leave it.
That's the
true.
difference.
Oh, you
Here's
put
the.
up the you
I
put
did.
yeah, go ahead. So I mean, I just put it up to kind of use it as a springboard. Off the bat, you can
It's
see that the,
worthwhile, yes, because we've been talking about the different
yeah.
Jesuses. So this is something which we might have seen. This is a meme which you might have seen online. Which Messiah do you follow? False Messiah versus true Messiah. But be very careful, because, in fact, then this doesn't really present either side of the argument. But it says one false Messiah is born 20th of December. His name's Jesus. He came for the lost. Uh, he
Well,
broke
I
the
would ready to
seventh
say
day.
false. I mean, the true Messiah was born on the 25th, according
Yeah,
to, as we've been studying in the Bay Abaddon,
yeah.
and then perhaps this feast is when he was conceived. So they got that flipped around. Perhaps
Yeah.
is that?
So, well, what they've got here, no,
Oh,
they see
March.
that
It
the
was
true,
March.
and it says the true Messiah here, born in the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot. But wait a second, hold on a second.
Oh, that's in the fall. No, no,
The
no.
Yeshu Notzri, the 666 Jesus, was conceived in the winter and
No,
born
yeah, yeah,
in the Feast of Tabernacles. So the false Jesus here,
right.
I mean, who presented this? These people are obviously believing in Yeshu Notzri. They call him the true Messiah.
Hmm.
They say his name is Yeshua. Well, Yeshua is true. That is the name for Jesus in Hebrew. But in the Romaniot Minhag, it's correct that he's called Jesus, because that is the Romaniot version of the name, and that was the Hasmonean Minhag that Jesus and his disciples lived in first century Judea, what we call the Palestinian Minhag, which is the Romaniot Minhag there. So he came for the lost sheep of Israel. This is true. This is what he came for, not just the lost, but for the lost sheep of Israel. That's right. But how did he come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel? By to create a net out of the Noahide. So you see on this true Messiah side, what they've got here is very much like the Jesus of Messianic Judaism versus what they call the false Messiah on the other side. But we should
Right.
look
The
through it
Hebrew
very
roots.
carefully.
Yeah, right. And that's why I really put it up there, is because this is all you're finding. It is an ominous task just to go up against this, as Just Living can attest.
Yeah.
I'd also encourage Just Living, to be going back on the Discord. But one of the books that is a required reading is the Harvey Falk's Jesus the Pharisee, and it really helped me sort this. I mean, it is such an underrated book. It needs, thankfully it
It's
has.
a very humble book, but it's what, as you said, like one giant footnote. It's huge. Yeah, it's
It
got
is,
all this
and
references.
it needs to be read and mastered by all of us, especially someone who's suffering from, the what Jesus do I really believe in? I think that damage of Jesus needs to be repaired, and the Harvey Falk book will definitely help that repair.
That's right. That's true. Do you have a copy of that, Just Living?
I have the link for the Internet
the link,
Archives, and I'm about probably 85% of the way through it right now.
Very good.
Good. Yeah.
And did you find that helpful?
Oh yeah, it's like a cold glass of water on a hot day. Yeah.
Yeah. It really helps you cut through all the rubbish, because you hear from, as we just saw in this little true Messiah versus false Messiah, it's all messed up. Because it's totally messed up. What is being presented as the Jewish Jesus is not the Jesus presented by the Pharisees as the true Jewish Jesus. It's not the Jesus that Jacob Emden promoted for the nations. It's not the Jesus that Rashi and the Tosafists promoted for the nations. It's not the Jesus that Elijah Soloveitchik or Harvey Falk promoted for the nations. It's really a cult Jesus which has been created by maybe like this, what we call the Hebrew roots or the Messianic Judaism. It's so sad, because we here are a genuine Hebrew roots channel. We are a genuine Messianic Judaism, because we're saying there is no Messianic Judaism other than Noahide Judaism for Messianic Noahides. That's your one and only Messianic Judaism. There is no other Messianic Judaism which is legitimate. In fact,
Harvey said, right off the bat, he addresses the Rambam, Maimonides, and in the good points. I mean, that is, he brings into the conversation, but he clearly shows its limitations.
Yeah.
But it is a good place to start. I think that's one of the areas that you've helped us tremendously work through. So many are, using Rambam as the ultimate last word, but that's
it's dumbed down Judaism. It's not Judaism. It's Rambamism. Rambam is correct in many ways on many points, but he's also wrong as well. And you can't pretend that Rambamism is Judaism. It's just not. But it's not impossible for anybody out there to have access. Jesus says in Matthew 23 verse 2-3, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in the seat of Moses. So do and observe absolutely everything they tell you to do. But it's not impossible. It's not inaccessible for a Christian who wants to do that. It's okay. I need to access it. You might call up the local synagogue and say, "Hi, Jesus told me that I have to obey the Pharisees. So what do I have to do?" And you might just get the phone slammed down on you because you haven't given any context or background, and there's so much bad bad communication between Jews and Christians, especially because of the Holocaust and Nazism, the rise of anti-Semitism, the problem with synagogues inviting people to visit the synagogues and then getting the synagogues blown up because the person they visited was actually a Muslim terrorist. And these things have polluted and made it very impossible for a normal friendly relationship between a Christian and a Jew, as it should be, to phone up and say, "Hi, Jesus told me to obey the Pharisees. What do I do?" It's just not going to happen because of the whole context of the world which has gone beforehand. But it's not impossible for you to obey the Pharisees, because all you need to do is pick up some of these books, Elijah Soloveitchik, Harvey Falk, very important, Pinchas Lapid. These are books which are available for you to get hold of. Pinchas Lapid talks about how the resurrection of Jesus is a correct thing to believe in from the Pharisaical point of view. Elijah Soloveitchik does a complete analysis of Matthew and Mark. His entire analysis of the New Testament was lost during the Holocaust, but we still have Matthew and Mark and his opinions on that. He tells you what it means how you understand the Holy Spirit, for example, and various things. Harvey Falk lets you understand the halakha of Jesus of Nazareth, that he was actually from the Beit Hillel side of things. There are plenty of Pharisees for you to obey, and they've left their books behind for you to study. You don't need to find a living Pharisee, because Jesus very cleverly didn't just say obey the Pharisees. This is a really key point. He said obey the scribes and the Pharisees. And what was the job of the scribes? The scribes are the ones they were the biographers of the Pharisees. They went around listening to the Pharisees and writing down absolutely everything that the Pharisees said, so that we have the Talmuds, for example. And that's exactly what you have when you consult things like Harvey Falk's Jesus the Pharisee, or when you consult Elijah Soloveitchik's commentary on the New Testament, and Pinchas Lapid's resurrection of Jesus. When you're consulting these things, you're obeying the scribes and the Pharisees, not just the Pharisees. So you've got that double thing there. Jesus was, of course, knowing what was going to come about, and he knew one day your only access to the Pharisees will be through what the scribes have written. And so he preempted that and said, obey the scribes and the Pharisees.
No, there's also another argument against those who believe that the Mishnah is a reaction against all the persecution and the 135 Bar Kokhba failure, and Rabbi Akiva, and then they needed to no, these things were going on.
They were going
Torah
on.
had its place. I mean, obviously the Torah is the text that was read in the synagogue. The Septuagint was already being read.
Already, yeah.
So you had that in the various minhags, the Romani minhag. And so this scribes and Pharisees argument is very important. It's not really, the question came up today from Dadru. He took a text from John chapter 5. Basically, the whole Gospel of John is Jesus's dealings with the religious Jew. It's a very different Jew than the Pharisees he was debating in the Synoptics, the Shammai house, or maybe he was touching. I don't really see it in John when the broad brushstroke of the Jews. They're the temple Sadducees. They're the ones who were in power. That is all confirmed by Qumran.
Yeah.
That really the gospel. That's why the Gospel of John is the most theological, because it's dealing with another level of abstraction that religious leaders were able to do.
Yes.
Where the various Pharisee schools in Galilee, they had a lot of different questions. They had more the observant questions and living questions. Where
it's very clear, the Gospel of John is very clearly by some. The witness was a disciple who lived and had access to the temple, because almost everything that happens in the Gospel of John is happening in Jerusalem in the temple. Almost everything.
And why did he start out, with what we chronologically think of as a late ministry type of event when Jesus turned over the tables of the money changers? I mean, that happens right in chapter 2.
At the beginning and at the end.
At the beginning and the end. So this is a very important details of the and he comes out with saying, well, you're not seeing if you would listen to Moses, you would see me. I and the Father are one. That whole argument going on. Yeah. And I just tried to address that.
Yes, it's very much like John's gospel is very much presenting the people of Jerusalem, who in the other gospels are presented as the bad guys, because Jesus goes into Jerusalem with a multitude following him, singing and dancing and praising him, and the people of Jerusalem are saying, "Who's this?" It's a big statement against the people of Jerusalem. But the Gospel of John is there speaking mainly from and by the way, this is the detailed information of what was going on in Jerusalem. Yes. The people in Jerusalem didn't like the Jesus movement. That's the issue here.
They had the power, they had the money control, the temple system. So this whole broad brushstroke, Jews killed Jesus, and its extrapolation throughout the last 2,000 years is based upon that. And it's just a really flimsy argument if you know the text. I mean,
really, that's why I said that all you really need is to know Judaism and to be New Testament constitution lawyers. Because and the thing is, people think, oh no, you would say that because you're a legalistic Pharisee and you just want to make us into legalists as well, and we're going to miss the spirit of the law if we do it that way. No. This is actually all distracting from the key thing which was going to save the world. The thing which is going to save the world is constitutional lawyers of the New Testament Constitution with their knowledge of Judaism. And if the humans won't do it, I'm going to go off and I'm going to myself program AI, which is going to do it for you, because one way or another it's going to save the world.
Well, it's key here to really understand this whole Judean context. Jesus was a foreigner there, and he obviously was born in Bethlehem, but his whole life